Under the towering presence of Kirinyaga, Mount Kenya, lives a people whose history with wealth has shaped not only their lives, but also the destiny of an entire nation. They are the Kikuyu, often called the Kikuyu, numbering over 8.1 million people today, nearly 17% of Kenya's population. They are the country's largest ethnic community. To outsiders, the Kikuyu are known as Kenya's business people, hustlers, traders, landlords and innovators. From Nairobi's matatu routes to shopping malls, from coffee farms to fintech startups, their fingerprints are everywhere. But the story of the Kikuyu and wealth is not just about numbers. It is a story of survival against colonial dispossession, a story of resilience through collective effort, a story of ambition, where each generation reinvents the meaning of prosperity. This is their journey. From barter to banks, from cowrie shells to corporations, from forest struggles to digital futures. Before coins or currency, before banks or loans, wealth in Kikuyu society was measured in life itself. The Kikuyu proverb says, Mundu mugikuyu ndari na muchi guthinjia. A Kikuyu man does not lack a homestead where a goat can be slaughtered. Goats, sheep and cattle were currency. They were food, dowry, sacrifice and prestige. A man with 50 goats could command respect. A man with 10 cows could marry many wives and expand his lineage. Beyond animals, land was life. The Kikuyu were agriculturalists, skilled at terracing hillsides and rotating crops. Bananas, yams, millet, beans and sweet potatoes sustained families. Trees like the Mugumo fig were sacred, providing both shade and spiritual meaning. Trade was local and practical. Honey for grain, iron tools for milk, baskets for firewood. And yet, the economy was not only about accumulation. Generosity mattered. A wealthy man who refused to help neighbours risked being cursed or ostracised. Wealth had to circulate or it lost its value. By the 17th and 18th centuries, Kikuyu traders also exchanged with neighbouring Maasai and Embu. From the coast, cowrie shells and beads filtered inland. Though curious and shiny, they never fully replaced goats or land in value. For the Kikuyu, true wealth lay in continuity. Fertile land, strong herds, and children to inherit both. The late 19th century brought winds of disruption. The British arrived, and with them, the theft of land. The Kikuyu Highlands, among the most fertile in East Africa, were renamed the White Highlands. Families who had farmed those slopes for generations were pushed out. Some became squatters on European farms, others migrated to less fertile areas. For the Kikuyu, land was more than soil. It was inheritance, spirituality and security. Its loss was devastating. The British imposed taxes, the hut tax, the poll tax. Suddenly goats could not pay your obligations. You needed coins. To earn coins, you had to labour. Thousands of Kikuyu men left villages to dig railway lines, cut timber, or pick coffee for colonial settlers. Nairobi, once a railway depot, became a Kikuyu labour hub. This was the beginning of a new economy, from barter to wages, from livestock to shillings, from communal land to private ownership. The Kikuyu did not retreat. They adapted. By the 1920s and 30s, Kikuyu entrepreneurs were running dukas, small shops in Nairobi, Kiambu and Nyeri. They became tailors, carpenters, mechanics. Women brewed muratina, a traditional liquor, or sold vegetables in bustling markets. Colonial laws tried to restrict African business licenses. Banks refused loans. But the Kikuyu found a way. They pooled money through rotating credit societies, the forerunners of today's Chalmers and SACCOs. If 10 families contributed a small amount weekly, one family could build a house. Next time, another family bought land. Trust replaced collateral. Reputation was the guarantee. The Kikuyu proverb says, Muno utari uguo, ndukana ndawa numbembe. A poor man without intelligence will never afford medicine or maize. Intelligence became survival. With every restriction, the Kikuyu innovated. They laid the foundations of Kenya's cooperative economy. By the 1950s, the demand for economic justice could no longer be ignored. The Kikuyu had seen their fertile lands stolen, their cattle taxed, and their families reduced to squatters on European farms. The Mau Mau uprising, led largely by Kikuyu fighters, was about more than politics. It was about survival. It was about land and wealth. Without land, the Kikuyu could not farm. Without farms, they could not feed families. Without freedom, they could not prosper. For many, joining Mau Mau was not a choice. It was desperation. Families living as squatters worked long hours for settler landlords, yet could barely afford food. Young men left wages and homes behind to take oaths and fight in the forests. Women supported them secretly, carrying food, relaying messages, hiding weapons. One of the earliest leaders was Dedan Kimathi Wachuri, the most famous field marshal of the Mau Mau. Clad in leopard skin, Kimathi organized fighters in the Aberdare and Mount Kenya forests, insisting that the struggle was not just for independence, but for the return of Kikuyu land. He became a symbol of resistance, feared by settlers and revered by fighters. Another was Field Marshal Muthoni wa Kirima, the only woman to reach the rank of Field Marshal. She spent nearly a decade living in the forest, leading Mau Mau supply lines and commanding fighters. Known as the Weeping Woman of War, Muthoni proved that women were central to the movement. There was General China Waruhiu Itote, once a soldier in the King's African Rifles, who later turned against the British. His military training made him a skilled commander. His capture in 1954 was a major blow to the movement, but his story exposed the depth of Kikuyu frustration. And there was General Stanley Matenge, another legendary commander who led daring raids and kept colonial forces constantly on edge. Though his fate remains shrouded in mystery, his name is remembered in Kikuyu songs and folklore. Beyond the battlefield, women like Mary Nyanjiru and ordinary Kikuyu mothers carried food, information and courage to the fighters. Without them, Mau Mau would have starved in the forest. Independence opened new doors. Kikuyu families benefited from land settlement schemes. They purchased farms in Rift Valley and central Kenya. Coffee boomed, and Kikuyu cooperatives thrived. By the 1970s, Kenya was Africa's top coffee exporter. Kikuyu farmers sent children to school with coffee earnings. Cooperative societies funded churches, clinics, and schools. In towns, Kikuyu dominated retail, wholesale, and transport. The matatu industry, unofficial, chaotic, but thriving, was largely Kikuyu-run. By the 1980s, Kikuyu SACCOs controlled billions. Cooperative Bank grew from this culture, today one of Kenya's largest banks. The Kikuyu stereotype emerged: landlords, traders, matatu bosses. But behind it lay sacrifice, discipline, and a culture of savings. Today, the Kikuyu remain economic giants. In agriculture, they lead in dairy and horticulture. In finance, their saccos control over 600 billion shillings in assets. In real estate, Kikuyu investors dominate Nairobi's suburbs. The diaspora sends home over 400 billion shillings annually, much of it invested in land and housing. Young Kikuyu are entering fintech, coding, and global freelancing. They run supermarkets, malls, and online shops. But challenges remain. Land fragmentation makes farming difficult. Youth unemployment is high. Political rivalry sometimes paints Kikuyu wealth as tribal dominance. Still, the spirit of hustle remains. From cattle to crypto, from barter to blockchain, the Kikuyu adapt. Jane, a Kikuyu nurse in the US, sends money home monthly. Her remittances build a house in Kiambu and pay school fees for cousins. Multiply Jane by thousands, and you see the Kikuyu diaspora's power. The story of the Agikuyu and money is the story of Kenya itself. Barter and cattle, colonial theft and resistance, chamas and SACCOs, diaspora remittances and digital futures. The Kikuyu proverb says, Musiji ni iguru ria mundu. A home is a person's heaven. For the Kikuyu, wealth is not just about riches. It is about land to stand on, children to educate, neighbours to uplift, and futures to build. From barter to banks, from forests to fintech, the Kikuyu remind us that wealth is not inherited. It is created, and as Kenya looks to tomorrow, the Kikuyu spirit of enterprise will continue to shape the nation's destiny. Thank you for watching this journey into money and culture. If you enjoyed this video and learned something new, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps the channel grow. Don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with friends and family so more people can discover these powerful stories. And of course, hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an episode. We've got more incredible stories coming your way. Together, let's keep our culture alive and strong. See you in the next one.